All right, so here's what I wanted to talk about today. I talk often about something called, it's my name for it, the high ground maneuver. And in the context of persuasion, what it means is you take people out of the weeds, the little arguments, the bickering, like you did this, X is true, Y is true, you got your facts wrong, that sort of stuff. And you elevate it to a higher level where everyone on both sides just says, yeah, that sounds right. And I wanted to give you an example of that. There's a really good example in the news right now. You're all aware that the G20 meeting happened and President Trump met with Putin, and one of the topics was the alleged Russian meddling in the U.S. elections. Now, the controversy today is that although President Trump brought it up and pressed the point a few times during the meeting, we're told that Russia says that he accepted their assurances that they weren't involved, which I'm sure wasn't exactly what happened. And then the Trump administration's explanation of what happened is that Putin said he wasn't involved, and after pressing it a few times, they decided to focus on the future, or as moving forward, as they put it. Now, that's the high ground maneuver. Now, think about this framing, all right? So you've got the critics coming at you, and they say, hey, you didn't do enough about what they did on the election. You need to do more about what happened for the election. Now, if you engage on that level and you say, well, I tried my best and I didn't get anything done, well, then you're a failure. If you don't try, then you're also a failure. So if you stay in the weeds of fighting over what did Russia do or not do, or what are they admitting to, what are we going to do about it, about the election, you can never really win that, because Russia's not going to admit they did anything, and there's not much you can do about it anyway, other than whatever our CIA is doing, and that's not public anyway. So instead, Rex Tillerson, who I'm starting to believe is a master persuader himself, he's very good at this, by the way. Rex Tillerson and President Trump decided to frame it this way. They said, how about we focus on the future? Now think about it, hold on. Think about how that changes the frame. Because imagine you're the critic, all right? So you're the critic of President Trump, and he just said about Russia, we're going to focus on the future and getting things right from this point on. We're not going to, dwell on the past. What exactly is your counter argument to that? No, let's focus on the past. Now, you can make a coherent argument that says, we have to deal with the past or else it'll be harder to move forward or anything. But the trouble is, it becomes sort of a conceptual, you have to sort of trust that there might be some reason to focus on the past, and not everybody agrees, and how exactly does focusing on the past help you in the future? It's not entirely clear. So even though you could make an argument for focusing on the past, there's nobody who hears this framing and doesn't immediately rise to it. And the framing is, let's focus on the future. Because if you were to look at the entire past of all the things that Russia has done to us, all the things that we've done to them, even recently, you don't have to go that far back, just the stuff we've done to them and the things they've done back, there'd be plenty of reasons to disagree. But as soon as he says, let's focus on the future, the critics do some version of this. Yeah, but, damn it, the future is definitely better than the past. Let me give you another example of this from the past. You remember perhaps when Clinton and Gore, I use this example a lot, but it's good to remind you, Clinton and Gore were running for re-election against Bob Dole and Jack Kemp. And Bob Dole was was making his argument about how he was going to take the good qualities of the past, the greater generation, the higher moral standard that we imagined people had in the past, and he was going to bring that to the future, I guess. The trouble was that as soon as Clinton framed Dole as planning for the past, and he said, but Clinton Gore will be building you a bridge to the future, Dole was done. Because even though Dole's argument made total sense when you heard it in isolation, oh yeah, there were good qualities that America had in the past, and he's a representative of those qualities, and he'll bring some of those qualities to us. That makes perfect sense, right? As a proposition, I can't judge how important that is, but as a proposition, it's rational. Until somebody says, no, we're planning for the future. Bob Dole's planning for the past. The moment you hear that, Bob Dole became irrelevant. Right? That's the same play that President Trump and Tillerson did on the Russia critics. The moment you hear them say, yeah, you could keep planning for the past, we can keep working on the past, or we could work on the future. Pick one. I don't have time to do both. Do you want me to work on the past or work on the future? It's such a strong reframing that it just sort of takes the piss out of the whole argument. And I don't think people have quite realized how strong it is. Because how the hell do you argue for the past? Who's on that side? Who would want to willingly identify with, yeah, let's relitigate the past? It's just silly once they framed it that way.